Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. I am your host, as always, with Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Today we have a wonderful and very enlightening class ahead of us. So far in this series of episodes, we've been discussing the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, or the Etz Chaim, and we will go over again what we've learned so far about the Tree of Life as we begin to dive deeper into its sacred and mystical structure and meaning. This week, we will be discussing the Etz Chaim and the Sefirah of Netzach, also called Victory, and the struggles and challenges of life, and also the secrets of the sacred letter Kaf, which would translate to, I believe, K in English. Please try to remember to keep yourselves muted for the lecture portion of the class if you're joining us in the virtual classroom. And if you do have any questions and comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat, and we will do our best to address them during the interactive portion. Okay, so now without further ado, I will turn it over to the man of the hour. Let's give him power. Dr. Gil Tivon, everybody. Dr. Gil Tivon.
Good evening, Mike, host, and good evening, all of you viewers and listeners at home. And we're very happy to have you here with us again tonight. We're going to review shortly what we have done so far in short and explain what we are doing. And tonight we're going to also zoom in on the Sefirah of Netzach, of Victory, as it's usually translated into English. We're going to enlighten ourselves tonight about how we handle and manage life struggles, this is what it's all about, also innerly, Kabbalistically, inwardly, as well as externally facing the entirety of life. So we're going to go through all of this together, and let's sum up and recap for those that are with us first time, or those that have forgotten already from last week, as myself have done, through the Tree of Life. What is the Tree of Life? Kabbalah is the secret, ancient receiving tradition that we have for over 5,000 years. It's the latest, or rather the oldest tradition that we have around the world, older than any other kind of religion or culture that exists, that we know of, and we do know. It's actually the mother of all other ancient cultures and traditions and religions that sprouted off thereof. And it is not humanly made. In other words, it's not human knowledge which is limited, as many other cultures and religions have, but it's rather divinely given by archangels and by God divinely himself through the ages, and therefore we don't miss one letter away from it, because that's why it's called Kabbalah, which in the ancient secret Hebrew meaning, this is the way we received it, exactly like that. And it is fascinating that today, in the modern age of quantum physics, of string theory, and the latest things that we're doing today in physics and in the modern world and psychology, this completely lines up, maybe the only one that lines up with everything that we know of. So 5,000 years spectrum all the way to where we're holding today, all lines up. The Tree of Life is actually the upper image, or the higher image, of everything godly that exists in the upper worlds, which are way, way above us, and it comes down and descends itself through a process of transmutation to our world, till we have what we see with our physical senses, which is this very earthly and physical materialistic existence. When we do look at the human body is exactly made up exactly by the Tree of Life. So when the Bible said, the Torah says, and man was created in the image of God, that's what it means. It means that our body internally and externally exactly imitates and relates and duplicates of the Tree of Life, starting up there at the crown chakra and going all the way down to the crown Sefirah, rather, which is a prism of light, and working all its way down to here. No other system that we know of as of today, and we're very modern, and we at the touch of a button we can access any current tradition, culture, and religions through Google, has this, because even the 7 chakras that exist in the Eastern religion only discuss the middle line, but they stay quite speechless when it comes to the right and left parts of our body, externally and internally. So we're very proud to be descendants and students of this incredible tradition culture, which is divine, as I've mentioned. And we want to zoom in tonight on what we hold, which is the Sefirah of Netzach, which is right on the right-hand side, yes, Mike, on the right side, where it says Netzach. So I'll explain in short the structure of this tree of life, which is in the Hebrew, Etz, which means tree, Chaim, which means life. It's usually written either as CH or an H. If you find it difficult, write it as a CH and say Chaim, so use just the H, which is actually Chaim. Like you say hummus in the Eastern languages, use an H for a Ch, Russian and all Mediterranean and Eastern languages. So what does it mean? It actually means there's an upper triad that we discussed, which is the Keter Chochma and Bina, which is the crown, the understanding, and the wisdom, and that is where all our physical senses lie within the two hemispheres of our head and the five senses in our head. Then we went down and we discussed the previous week, each week one Sefirah, one prism. We discussed Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet, which is kindness, judgment, and glory or splendor, which lies at the heart of the matter, two parts of our two different sides of our body, left and right, as well as our heart, which holds all the emotions and interactions with other human beings. And now we're starting to descend to the lower level of the human being, where all the different kind of subconscious, of inner inclinations, of things that we usually are not aware of, do reside, but definitely govern our lives and drive it whether we know it or not. There's a new innovation over here, which is the line of time, which means as we go and we ascend the tree of life, we go towards the present and future. As we descend the tree of life, where we're holding now at the Sefirah of Netzach, we're going into the past present, meaning that many things we harbor and we hold patterns of thoughts, negative behavior, negative feelings all the way from the past, memories, triggers that we have experienced in our past, which means a childhood, or in any past 5 minutes ago and before, or previous lives. And this is being held at this bottom Sefirot, starting today from the Sefirah of Netzach. So this is an innovation for you to consider when we go through this. So what do we know about Netzach? First of all, the normal translation that you will find in Google is not completely correct, which means Netzach in Hebrew does also mean victory, also means to conquer, that is true, but it really means a few other things in the Hebrew. Unlike other languages where usually one meaning is given to a word, and many times it's a rigid structure to a letter. In other words, we can say, let's say, a house. A house means just a house, doesn't mean anything else. But in the Hebrew, when we call it a Netzach, it has three meanings, and that is what is intended in the original language of Kabbalah. Netzach also means, as beautifully written here, eternity, and therefore this Sefirah is represented by a great shepherd, which is Moses, the one that actually gave or through which the agents through which the Torah, the Pentateuch, was given. And it represents the Torah, represents the eternity of the tree of life, which means that which we can hold and attain and come to grasp with, which is the eternal Bible, through which the oral law and the scripture, we can transcend our normal life and attain some kind of an eternal life once we shed off our physical body. Again, I'm going to go slowly because there's lots of depth here and intensity, so let's do it slowly. The first one means definitely victory. What should we be victorious about? Well, in Kabbalah, we will always discuss external circumstances as well as internal circumstances. Externally, there's so much that we have to fight for and struggle with in life, whether it's other people, other circumstances, other energies, lack of money, and many other conflicts that we do see in life that we have to stand face on and deal with. Internally, it means our inner demons, our shadow, our evil inclination, our natural inclination. All these we have to fight with at the same time. They don't wait for us to rest. We don't wait for us to be available. They come at us. They fight us any time of day or night, and we have to be prepared for this. This is the reason the Sefirah is called victory, Netzach, from the word let's fight a battle of life. So we are definitely, all of us should be peaceful warriors and be ready for the struggle. This is what life is about. From the time that the sperm was fighting against 250 million other sperms to win and become a healthy fetus, till our very existence here, till the last breath, we will always fight. We don't have to be aggressive. We have to be peaceful warriors. The second element we discuss now is eternity. Netzach means eternity, which means what is it that I will do in my life to make sure that I transform my physical creation in this physical body into eternity, into become a spiritual being. Well, imagine that we actually have these two cups of it. Imagine this is a cup, a bottle, and a cup. So most of our life, what I do, I pour away my physical strength, lust, desires, and with time it dissipates and we all become old and we all go through this world and we die at the end, physical death. However, there's another way of doing it. Every time that I pour, every day that I pour away from my physical cup, I pour it into my spiritual cup. And then even though my physical strength is dissipating away, but my spiritual existence is getting stronger. So yes, you find people that have not invested into their emotionalism, mentalism, or spirituality, and as time goes by, they wither away. They wither away. But you do find spiritual giants that as they grow older, more people come to see them worldwide because the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience becomes richer. And this is what eternity is. Now, the Bible was very, very clear about it, and we do have a Kabbalistic count to it, especially in the Holy Zohar, which says that we were given 613 commandments, actually. Yes, in the 10 commandments, this is famous, but there's so many others as well that we are given, that if we count them all together in the Old Testament, they come to 613 different commandments, which means every one of these commandments is facing or helping us to transcend our material and help us as a means to an end to transform our physicality into being a spiritual, enlightened human being. How does it work? They had 248. You don't have to remember the numbers. Just listen and try to understand that. This is recorded. I will repeat what I said, and you can listen to it again, but this is of extreme importance. They had 248 positive commandments, such as in the 10 commandments, honor your father and your mother. Now, there are 248 limbs and organs within my physical body. Isn't that astounding? Isn't that surprisingly shocking? And the reason is Kabbalah tells us that our physical body was made, created, right, by the Creator, right, in order to facilitate our transforming everything we do physically and creating a temple within us. This is everything that we do in life, and this is the Sefirah of Netzach. We transform by fighting our battle. Every time we do, we transform this temporary, materialistic, mortal life into immortal, eternal life by engaging in something spiritual that God has instructed us or has guided us rather to do. At the same time, there has 365 days in a solar year. There are 365 sinews within a human body. This is given to us Kabbalistically and medically, already more than 5,000 years ago. So there are 365 negative commandments not to do, such as don't kill, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not be adulterous, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not be a false witness, all in the 10 commandments. Every time I refrain from something, every time the Bible says, do not stray after your eyes and after your heart. I hold back my eyes, I hold back my heart. And everybody has these urges. and don't do whatever they natural inclination, even inclination tells them to do, they are building up the inner temple within them. Let's summarize. The Sefirah of Netzach means eternity. How do I become eternal being so mortal, so fragile in my human body? And the answer is by doing different kind of positive and negative commandments as the Bible decrees and tells us. It's a book of instruction of life, of magical life, of white magic, how to transform physical life into eternal spiritual life. How do I go about it? Well, again, 248 positive commandments, which I do honor my parents and many other things that the Bible commands. And every time I do it, I build a spiritual temple within my body that when today I already become, and you can see when people do it, more spiritual, more grace, more compassionate. And after 120, that physical body that will go into the grave will transcend itself, and the spiritual body will light up forever after. Similarly, there's 365 days in the year, 365 sinews in the body, and there's 365 negative commandments in the Bible, which means every time I refrain from lying, from cheating, from stealing, from killing, etc., when the opportunity comes, then I gain a spiritual sinew in my body so that after 120, I will have a spiritual body. And even in this earthly existence, people will see in you that you are very much a spiritual being and not just a physical being. When we call people His Highness, His honor, His grace, what do we mean by that? That the person is a holy person, saint. This is what we mean. They have refined and sanctified the physical body to the highest extent through doing the different commandments of God. These commandments were not given for God to please Him. No, we're not here to please Him. These commandments were made to please us, to honor us, to gain in ourselves, being a small little God in ourselves, by creating our own love. This is incredible love and compassion of God to allowing us in this earthly, temporary, mortal existence of 70, 90, 120 years to transcend ourselves and create an immortal existence within us. So this is incredible. The third understanding, Netzach in the Hebrew, is from the word Netzach, which means to be a conductor on the symphony orchestra. What does it mean? It means when I wake up in the morning, as we grow older, there are more and more responsibilities. You have to deal with your family, you have a wife, a husband, with children, with a career, with finances, with bills, with mortgages. You have to deal with different kind of foods, you have to deal with different kind of animosities, different kind of confrontation in your life, as well as within you. All this heads us to the point of knowing how to juggle. Some people don't know how to juggle. We've got different attributes, different values, different pulls and draws, upwards and downwards. Upwards means ascension and aspiration. Downwards means evil inclination and materialism. When we know how to juggle life, when we know how to deal and handle and manage life, then we made an ownership. We've attained completion, mastership after the Sefirah, which is the Sefirah of Netzach, of eternity. The right translation will be here from the Hebrew, being a conductor of a symphony orchestra. Where is the symphony orchestra? Everywhere around us, where we have to deal with life, and everything inside us, when we got different attributes, different habits, different feelings, different thoughts, going around us all the time. How many thoughts do we have a day? Well, psychologists and scientists say over 60,000 a day. How about emotions? Anger, revenge, depression, anxiety, stress, so many. How many habits? Well, you should know on yourself how many we have. Juggling all of this, trying to make a way, trying to make an order, an organized organization in our life. Out of this mess, create a message. Out of this test, to create a testimony. This is an incredible ordeal for us to do, and it takes many years to achieve that. So, yes, a computer can learn everything in a few seconds through, the USB or through the discount key. Yeah, that's very true. But we need so many years to accomplish because things take time to bring it down from the knowledge of the mind into the knowing of the heart and the body. And the body will take many, many years to train it, to show it, to educate it, to line up with who we are spiritually. Let's summarize it in one sentence. We are spiritual beings who are having a physical experience. Let's never forget this. Never get confused in the marathon of life. We are not physical beings that are having a spiritual experience once a week with Dr. Gil Tivon. No, we are spiritual beings who came down to this world as guests for a short period of time, just to make sure that we are ascending, elevating ourselves in the process while we're having a physical experience. This is an incredible Sefirah of Netzach. In the Sefirah of Netzach, part of it, and this is of great importance, I'm zooming in, is working at our self-confidence. Well, if I'm not self-confident, if my self-worth is low, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, if I don't feel that I deserve love, if I don't feel that I deserve money, if I don't feel that I deserve health or wealth or spirituality, I will not be able to attain anything. So one of the first levels and fundamental levels of a human being is to have self-confidence. Self-confidence does not mean arrogance. It means knowing your own true core values. What are you special about? What is your uniqueness? And every one of you, every one of us is so unique. Most people just live in the survival mode, and we are followers. But we shouldn't be. We should find what you are special with. The fact that somebody has got an IQ of 250 and is a mastermind of mathematics, maybe you're a mastermind of emotional intelligence. Maybe you're a mastermind when it comes to arts. Maybe you're a mastermind when it comes to sports. Whatever you're good at, cultivate it, nourish that, build this, because this is how God created you to achieve that, and that is self-confidence. The inner understanding of self-confidence according to Kabbalah is have a relationship, a trust relationship with God, that you know that you can trust God to be there for you and to help you achieve things. Just 1 second, shut this door. It is making a noise. Excuse me and thank you. And so it's very important to have confidence not only in oneself but in the self of God. What does that mean? Let's take a simple, famous story from the Bible that teaches us that. Well, King David was a youngster, a youth, when he came to visit his brothers in the war, and they were facing the mighty Goliath, who was really, really, a huge giant out of LA fitness that nobody dared to face fighting him. He was actually also a mighty warrior, and he was wearing an armor and shield made of iron. Nobody wanted to face him as he was casting God away, as the Bible clearly says. Now, King David wasn't a practiced warrior as him. King David wasn't wearing what he was wearing. He only had few little stones that he practiced in the river of how to shoot at his Goliath head. What he said is, you come to me cursing the living God, and I'm coming to you being empowered by God. He did not trust himself only. He knew that it was touch and go. He trusted very much God to work through him, to work with him. He put his trust in God. And this is the key for any kind of challenge you have. Psalms clearly say, cast means throw your trust on God, and He is the one who's going to nourish you. He's the one who's going to take care of you, whatever it is that you want. Now, what does it mean? It means as follows. If I want to give you something, I will hand it over to you, but I will still be hesitant and hold it in my hand because I don't trust you completely. Because you are mortal like me. You need to sleep like me. You need to eat like me. You need to sleep like me. But when it comes to God, I take everything that I have, financial problems, relationship problems, love issues, health issues, lifestyle issues, as well as spirituality, and I throw it to God. Take it. I don't know how to handle it. It's too much for me. Do me a favor, I pray to him. You take it, you do it, work through me. It's too much for me. And that's a message for each and every one of us. Take the mess of the Sefirah of Netzach that we are dealing with and turn it into a message. Let God work through you, for you. And once we do, this is the real inner Kabbalistic confidence which should cultivate. Make God your partner. Speak to him like a friend, like a father. Make him your partner in the everyday and say, I can't help it, I can't manage. It's too much for me. Save me from my mess, make it to a message. Save me from my test, make it into a testimony. That's very important. Take a deep breath. And now we're going to understand, Mike, how does it relate to the sacred letter of Kaf? Well, Kaf is very much, in the English, will be a C. It's the same shape as a C, even though usually it's translated in English as a K-A-F. But really, honestly, Kaf, it has got the same sound in the Hebrew like the C when you write like a cat. Right. Now, the Kaf Kabbalistically means that it's a very, very holy letter which transcends, supervises, and governs all the way above the Sefirah of eternity, of victory, of managing and handling life. And this is incredible. So let's discuss a little bit the secrets of it. Again, so in the sacred Hebrew, the letter Kaf, what does it look like? Well, if I hold my hand like that with my fingers bound down, folded up, you'll see that it's exactly the same shape as the letter Kaf. And in the Hebrew, my palm is called a Kaf. In other words, that letter Kaf is the original name, and my hand is called Kaf because it imitates. It's created by God to imitate that letter called Kaf. What I have to do, I have to take my bones, I have to take my sinews, I have to take my muscles and shape them up, the letter Kaf, in order to execute things, to bring them into fruition, to create a shape and to create a vessel in which I can hold things. So let's take a step back. Let's go through this slowly. I have all kind of ideas in my mind. I have an imagination, a vision, something that I want to bring around to the world. But in order for this to formulate, to take shape, to take hold, I need to bring it down into this materialistic kind of world. I need to execute it. I need to create out of it some kind of a proper shape. That shape, the first shape that I can do, because understand, your hands, your legs, they don't create the shape. That's the way they are. But my fingers, it's the first thing that I can shape up with within my bones, that I can shape and then create. Instead of a normal open hand, I can create the letter Kaf with it, which means creating a shape out of an idea. How does my hand move? When I'm a spiritual being living somewhere up here in my mindfulness, in my awareness. When my soul, through my mind, gives a command to my physical body, through the nerve endings, it's come all the way down to my hand, where there are 30% of all my nerve endings, and I formulate in 1 second this one shape, which is called the Kaf, or the shape of the letter C in the English. And again, cat, which is like not a C anymore, like a C that we expressed as a K, this is exactly the shape of the letter Kaf, which means how do we bring into execution, to fruition, spiritual ideas, vision, imagination that we have in our mind. In order to do this, I have to coerce my muscles to form shape. So this letter very much, many times in its negativity, can be a dictator. It can dictate shape. It can force its way. Think about names of people. The same letter depends where it is in the name, in your name or in the name of a business, can act as a positive catalyst, meaning it shapes up things, it creates things. It can also be a very coercive kind of letter, forcing, dictating to others what to do. And that's why this is the sphere of victory. To be victorious, many times you have to put your foot on top of the enemy's throat or neck, because you have to make a real win. You're not going to leave anyone alive if they're going to stab you at the back once you walk away. You're not going to be leaving your evil inclination alive if you want to be victorious and will let it through any hole to come through. It will come through. It will finish with you with drugs, with addictions, with temptation, with gambling, with shopaholic, and any other holic that we all know about, including workaholic, where people do not know when enough is enough, and they live to work and they don't work to live. The next issue over here of the Sefirah of this letter of Kaf means that it creates a vessel. This is a vessel in which I can hold my hand, and I can turn it around also the letter C, and I can hold water with it, inside it. And it is of very great interest to me because when I want to be inclusive, when I want to be compassionate, when I want to be empathetic to others, I have to be inclusive. Some people don't have the space inside them to listen to others' problems, and some people do. The soul of a healer, of a psychologist, of somebody that wants to be married and love others, unconditional love, we have to have the cup, we have to have the vessel, create a vessel that can be inclusive of others. It's more of a feminine kind of effect that this letter has got. So if you look at the Tree of Life, yes, we are discussing the right pillar, and down there the sphere of victory or eternity, which is Netzach, right? And definitely it is a very masculine kind of sphere because all the rights out of the sphere from Chochmah, Chesed, and Netzach, correct? Thank you, Mike. They are all very masculine, but there's a feminine aspect to it, which is inclusivity, being inclusive of others, of what do others go through. And this is the greatness of leaders. I will take one political leader that passed away, unfortunately, that most people around the globe, including myself, love, and that's Mahatma Gandhi. Now, Mahatma Gandhi was in charge, I think, of 800 million people. And it wasn't by virtue of force or by virtue of coercion. It was by virtue of giving them faith, of letting him trust them. Now, he was a short little man that used to be a lawyer in South Africa when I grew up, long before me. And nevertheless, he was a very spiritual person, and he suffered with his nation, was very compassionate. He knew how to instill in his people faith. And with one power, one value of faith, he was able to hold hundreds of millions of people, not only in India, but around the globe, and leave a legacy behind him that affected all of us for eternity. So this power belongs to any person. He wasn't born to be Mahatma Gandhi. He was born to be a simple human being like you and I. But he rose above circumstances to the occasion and became victorious because he knew how to handle and to be inclusive. So inclusivity is something you should cultivate. If you're married, if you've got children, you've got people working with you, you've got friends, try to be inclusive. Have the patience to listen to them. When you listen to somebody, when you're being inclusive of somebody's opinion, we don't always have to win in an argument. Winning is conquering, is victory. Inclusivity is the beautiful rectification, the tikkun, rectification of, okay, I respectfully disagree with your opinion, but I'm including your opinion also. And we will always learn from somebody else's opinion. It's very important. The Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, says that behind that letter of Kaf, behind the Sefirah of Netzach, also in this physical world, we see the sun. Oh, wow. The sun is the source of our physical life. Without the sun, in 1 second, we'll all be wiped out of existence. Warmth, nourishment, heat, day and night, everything that we know about life comes through the sun. So the sun represents the power of life, and therefore the book of creation says, this letter Kaf, this Sefirah of Netzach represents nothing less than the power of life that we are working with. So let us summarize. This letter has got the power of life. It's got the power of being the crown, because Kaf in the Hebrew is Keter, which also starts with the letter Kaf. It's the crown of the king. But the crown of the king, only the king of all kings, is a very humble king. He lets us live our life. He's very compassionate. He doesn't dictate to us what to do, only suggests and asks us to do for our own good. We should learn from him and not be dictators of dictating and coercing our own opinion and force on to others, but rather not micromanage anyone, but rather macromanage and not manage at all. Should suggest to others friendly how to go about things. In the geometrical value, we know that kaf in the Hebrew equals 20, or small geometrical value, 2 plus 0 is 2, which means it's a 2. It's a very sensitive letter. It's sensitive to the point that if we handle it correctly, it can give us victory. It can help us reach eternity. It can help us transform our physical reality into spiritual reality. I'm summarizing, by the way, what we've done. It helps us also juggle around life and conduct our life externally and internally in the right way. But if we don't, it can tend and flip on us and become a vicious cycle of coercion, of dictatorship, the way it is. In a human, when we look into the human, into human names, into personal names that we have, if you do have a C in your name, such as Caitlin, or any other kind of name that you do know that has a C in it, in any kind of way in the Hebrew it will be a kaf. That means that everything we discussed tonight is given, it's instilled, it's ingrained within that name. The positioning of the letter will dictate whether it's positive or negative, but it's beyond the scope of what we do. That's a different workshop. If you want, you can go through this. I wrote a whole book about the positioning and the secrets of each one of the letters, where it is positioned in the name, as well as how does it combine with somebody else's name. In other words, there is one person, let's say he's a male, his name has got a C, and got a female with him, partner, that's also got a different letter or got letter C. How do they combine together? How is it going to work? Got a child with the letter of C, Charles. How will they connect with each other once they have a C or any other kind of letter within their name? I think this lecture so far has been quite intensive and a lot of information so far. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to allow your questions, Mike, through you, or because I don't see the public who's seen some coming through a different kind of the site. I'm only a guest here, so I'd love to hear your questions, either in the chat or you can come online or through Mike. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that very enlightening lecture, Dr. Tivon. Right now, we have a couple questions from last week's lecture, which we apologize. We had technical difficulties and trouble with the internet connections, so there had to be a replay, which was posted. And there were a few questions from that, so I'm going to address those very quickly. Just as we're waiting for more people to type in their questions, and I know there's a few people watching, so hang tight with us. The first question has to do with on Wednesday, apparently there was a rare sight in the sky above West Jerusalem. The moon, Venus, and Jupiter align. The moon symbolizes the desire of our soul. Venus is a planet that strengthens love within us. Jupiter is a planet responsible for the month of Adar, and Pisces, the power of joy. This wonderful combination tonight is supposed to give us the power to love and make the whole world happy for a whole month to come. Is this true that this alignment of the planets is responsible for our emotions, or influences our emotions, I guess would be a better way to
Well,
phrase it.
this is a very, very big question. It's an excellent question. So again, Mike, you mentioned Jupiter, Venus, and the third one is the moon.
Moon. Correct.
Yeah. Let me discuss it first of all. It's a different workshop. If you want in the future, we can definitely do it on Mondays or whenever we do. And this is astrological understanding of the planets and the force. But in short, it works as follows. The planets in themselves do have some kind of a lower form of spiritual energy. And they are really transformers to understand how God operates from the higher worlds to us. So we cannot see God. God is eternal. God is completely transcendent, completely divine and spiritual. So God has created in this world physical bodies called the planets and the zodiac signs, through which he shows us different kind of directions. However, this does not take away our free choice, meaning through the planets we see the potential, the opportunity that rises. So to zoom in, what I'm saying is as follows. Jupiter represents the power of prosperity, great prosperity and abundance in all fields of life. It doesn't have to be only in the field of money. It can definitely be also a question of love. Venus is the star of love, of beauty, of harmony, no question about it. So just a combination of these two together should really be the time for somebody to really find great love in his life and to manifest existing love and to empower love and beauty and harmony in whatever relationship you are holding or wishing to have. The moon on its own represents sensitivity, passivity, femininity, and feelings. So whenever the moon has also got to do with it, it means extra power of sensitivity and feelings within that combination. If we put all the three together, what we get is incredible power of love, falling in love, harmony, feelings and emotions all together right now. And since it's in alignment, it means it's all is positive. So anyone that is this should have been really the Valentine's Day of the year today. But since it isn't, we can definitely make it one. So if you have the opportunity is given by, beautiful Mike, thank you so much. The opportunity is given now by God. What we do with it, if we pick up the torch and we run with it, we run with those 3 stars, is up to us. So write a poem, dedicate something to your loved one, empower and strengthen the relationship that you already have, or create a positive one, or pray to God to bring you the right one here and now, because this is the time that it is in alignment, and you can definitely achieve this if it's something that you're wishing and seeking, who isn't and who does not. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity. Yeah, next.
Okay, so we have another question, and this I think relates again directly to what you were explaining before about how God's will influences ours. And the question is, how am I supposed to know when I am doing God's will or my own will? Do I even have a mind of my own? So that's it.
Very good question. Very good question. And the answer is absolutely. Well, let's start with what I don't have. I don't have any choice concerning my height. I don't have a choice concerning the size of my shoe, the color of my eye. Of course, I can color my hair and the color of my eyes. I can change it with the lens, but intrinsically given, all these, my IQ is given. As much as I will learn, I will have the same IQ as the vessel, the letter cuff, which I'm using. There's only one choice which I'm given. It is God-given to be like God, the image of God, which means free choice. I can surprise God, and I can really choose good and not be evil. So definitely I've got a free choice. Does that prevent God from knowing? Well, in one of my books, I wrote over 20 chapters just on that question, because it's a very serious, deep question that all philosophers set upon this question for the last 3,000-4,000 years. And the answer is absolutely yes. Imagine you have a child at home, or that you're a teacher in a class, and you have small kids that you catering for and teaching and educating. Do parents don't know what the child will do? Well, for example, myself, I was a very shy little boy, and my aunt used to be a very big, hefty lady, and they all used to laugh at me when she came in. I used to run away and hide behind the sofa. Nobody told me to do so, but they knew what little Gil will do. The same applies to God. And I'll give you another thing which is quite horrific. In Africa, where I lived many years in South Africa, many times the way that the natives catch a monkey to have dinner is putting inside a small hole in the tree or in the mountain some peanuts. The monkey comes in, puts his hand like this, like letter cuffs. Once inside, he catches the bunch of peanuts, hold it, and he sees the hunters coming to kill him. But he's unable to let go of his own temptation. His own free will is being stuck over there, and is being caught by his hands and brought to death. Meaning, even though we have free choice, but God is over and above our dimensions manifold. He lives in the multiverse. We live in this three-dimensional universe. So once he knows everything that we will do. He does not dictate to us what we will do, but he knows what he will do. Why? Because by definition of his name, as Mike every time brings when he advertises our lectures, it's Yud Kei Vav Kei, which means Havaya means he was, he is, and he will be. He's above time. He's timeless. He's above time. Time is only in our mind, and it really does exist because we live in a three-dimensional world. But in a different way, a workshop of mine, I do teach you some meditation and other means how to elevate yourself to the fourth dimension, which is unity with God, and to the multiverse, where you can really access the here and now, being with unity with the collective mind of all human beings and consciousness and God in the here and now, because it's all here. We just don't know how to access it. Thank you. Anything else that you'd like to ask? Anyone from the audience? Elaine, I cannot see anyone because I'm on a different site, so I'm unable to access that.
I am checking right now, see if there are any questions on Facebook or YouTube or Spotify, Instagram. Let me see. Okay, so we have one person saying, so beyond this dimension, free will and God's divine plan do not negate one another. They don't contradict each other. Is that basically the simple?
So what you're asking is as follows. According to Kabbalah, does free will and the God's knowledge, do they contradict each other? That is the question, yes?
Yes, that's the question.
Yes,
do they?
And the answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. Imagine that you have a little ant, A-N-T, and you place her in a little maze or a rat, and on the other side of it you place very beautifully smelly, fresh honey. You've no doubt about it that ant will follow the scent to find and sip some of this honey, or the bee or the rat, whatever it is. That's how we catch rats. But nevertheless, did you tell her what to do? Did you tell the ant? Did you tell the rat what to do? And the answer is absolutely not. The same applies to human nature. Human nature in the Hebrew is called teva, T-E-V-A, which comes to the word to coin. God has coined into us our very nature. It's very difficult to escape that nature. And that nature limits us to living in 3D. We see, we hear, we taste, we smell, whatever it is in the five senses, we cannot do more than that. We are asked to transcend through connecting to the divine. We can transcend with Kabbalistic means to a higher dimension, and then we can also understand on a higher level features, but we will never lose it, because if we lose it, we're not human beings anymore, we're angels, we're robots. God does not want robots, He doesn't want artificial intelligence, He doesn't need more angels, that's simple. He needs human beings who've got evil inclinations, aggression, revenge, vengeance, etc., that will hold themselves back and will choose. And again, we can surprise God. Does He know that we'll surprise Him? Yes, He does. Does it interfere with our futures? No, He doesn't. How come? Because He lives on a higher dimension. What does He allow us? He allows us our free choice and gives us the opportunity to rise over our free choice. Will we take it up? Well, it's up to us. As we raise our vibration, as we raise our consciousness, as we come to these lectures, imagine the consciousness you came with from a day of working dynamically, interacting with this world, and how you feel right now. If you feel right now different, having the same choices, the same challenges you had before this lecture, you will attend to them differently. Because through this lecture, you raise your consciousness, you raise your illumination light to a higher degree, where you will not choose the same as you've chosen before, hopefully. Any one more question, Mike, before we call it a day? Thank God today we started really on time, which makes it a real pleasure. and a celebration.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
very well.
And thank God for that, because we do have one last question, which is related to the Sefirah of Netzach, or as you explained, has many different meanings.
Correct.
This person says that victory is which is one of the translations to English from Netzach. Victory is the mother of us all, or is victory the mother of us all, called Zion, or also known as the Shekinah.
Also known as the
Shekinah, or the Holy Spirit, divine feminine. Right.
So Zion is actually also a physical place, which is usually the reference to Jerusalem, the Holy Temple that was standing there for 800 years. Two temples, one for 480s, the other one for 220s. Overall, over 800 years period, the Holy Temple there. And this place is called in Jerusalem the Mount of Zion. But Kabbalistically, Zion means when you come to your own inner temple. This is what we discussed tonight. When you build your own inner sanctity, when you come to a higher level of consciousness, when you are able to transcend your physicality, control it, and navigate it the way you are, you have arrived at Zion. When you do this, you also will be privileged to feel the divine presence. Divine presence is Shekhinah. Shekhinah in the Hebrew comes to the word the godliness which resides. So it's only possible to explain it in the Hebrew, but trust me that I speak the language very well. Shekhinah means the residence, the presence of God, of the divine within us. Sometimes imagine that you get a dream in the night where you feel somebody's warning you, or that you know that something will happen tomorrow, and you run away from a tsunami, from an air crash, from whatever it is in your life, and you don't know where you got it. This is called prophetic kind of a dream. Sometimes you have an inkling somebody's going to call you that you speak to him for the last 10 years. Sometimes you have a feeling about the certain person that will come into your life. You even saw it in a dream, and this is the right person for you. How do you know this? This is all the presence of the divine presence who is guiding you, supporting you, nudging you towards your tikkun, towards your rectification. We thank Mike very much, and all the audience and everybody that will listen to it later on internationally. And please God, we will carry on next week. I understand also, Mike, I just want to ask in front of everyone, there is going to be also a different kind of a lecture on the upcoming Monday. Is that correct? If you want to speak about it a second.
Dr. Tivon just mentioned, we will be having a new class on Mondays at, I believe it was 7 p.m. Arizona time, the time that we agreed upon.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So 7 p.m. Arizona time, which would be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States time. And we will be covering all types of different metaphysical topics. I've been mentioning this in the announcements in the beginning of the Podclasses for a while now. And the first topic that we will be covering is healing from trauma, accepting reality, and learning how to move forward. And so this class will be taught by Dr. Tivon and myself. We will rotate 1 week after the other. So this coming week, Dr. Tivon has been kind enough to start this off. So
this is very important to all of you. Thank you very much, Mike. Very, very important to all of us. And this will be of great interest to many people. So please, since this is anyhow a free class, and these kind of sessions cost lots of money, so to come to a free class is amazing. Please tell your friends, anyone that you know, your loved ones and your friends, to come through this class, because we want to see, we want to hear you, we want you to participate. You can really gain a lot. Lots of skills and tools will be given, lots of practical examples. So be with us on Monday, this coming Monday, 7 p.m. MST, which is Arizona time, which never changes, and we will see you then. Have a great weekend. Enjoy you all. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tivon. And I am just putting up, as always, Dr. Tivon's contact information in case anyone would like to reach out to him for a private session or for any of his other workshops, which he has mentioned. His email is giltivon@gmail.com, which of course I love to bring to that. And you can find him on Facebook, Gil Tivon. If you would like, you could always reach out to me on Facebook. You could check us out on Metaphysical Sciences TV, YouTube. And please be sure to like and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube and watching the replay, or if you're watching this live. Please be sure to check out the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. That is where we will be announcing when we'll be having these new classes, which there will be more added to shortly. Not only will we be having the Monday classes and these Thursday classes, but also my mental health and metaphysics talk will resume again on Wednesdays at 7 Eastern Standard Time, so a little bit earlier. Again, I would like to thank Dr. Gil Tivon, everybody else who joined us. This was a great podcast. Thank you guys for all the awesome questions. I'm just going to check right now to see if there are any more. The other one that we had was another one related to something that we already covered, which is the will of God and or the God's divine plan and our will and these inclinations that we have and these urges. So if you would like to hear that question addressed again, you could just rewind. And also, I would encourage you to go back on the YouTube channel, Metaphysical Sciences TV, and you could rewatch all of the old replays of these podclasses. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This has been Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. I'm your host with Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Gray. Thank you, everybody, and have a good morning, afternoon, or night. Goodbye.